So you all will need to approve that one. So what'd you think about this homework?
Well, it was varied. There was a lot to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of it was, for me, it wasn't too difficult, but then other parts of it were, oh, this is a challenge,
What was the challenge?
The focus stacking was a challenge for me.
Yeah.
I wasn't really happy with how my stuff turned out as far as that assignment goes, but I don't know. I'm hoping you'll come up with some kind of pointers to tell me where I went wrong.
Anybody else? Did anybody else find the focus stacking hard?
For some
Well, I
reason,
tried. Oh, go ahead, Lexi.
for some reason, my Photoshop, it will only align the layers. It doesn't like combine them on its own, like do the masking on itself.
Yeah. So you have to, in Photoshop, you have to be sure to do the auto align and then the auto blend. So it's a 2-step that has to be
Oh.
done. Yeah.
That's probably where I went wrong there.
Is that where you went wrong, Jennifer?
Probably I did the auto align, but I didn't do the blend. I wondered about it. I saw the option there, but I should have just tried it just to see what would happen.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what you've got to do. You've got to do the auto align and then you've got to do the auto blend. And then that's when you get your magic.
Okay. I'm going to try that later.
Good. Good. And Amanda's coming right back in. So I'll ask her also while I'm doing this one. There we go. Amanda, what was your challenge?
Y'all can hear me now, right? I was having a little trouble with my audio earlier. I think, well, I didn't get to do the focus stacking. I went to try and figure out how to do it on my camera and kind of went down this rabbit hole. Because I couldn't find, I think I need to update my firmware is what I'm finding. Because it's the second time I haven't been able to find something that somebody has said is on there.
And which camera do you have, Amanda?
I have the EOS R.
Oh, okay.
And I got it about a year ago, and I think they've had an update since then, but I didn't get a chance to update it. So I didn't get to do the focus stacking.
Okay. And you had the R, not the R5.
Right.
Just the plain R. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it should be in there. I mean, I'm almost positive it is. So I hope that it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be. Okay. So then I will show you your pictures from this week. I need to rearrange you all for just a second so I can get you out of the way. There we go. Okay, good. There you go. Okay. So Amanda, here's yours. And once again, I've got to rearrange you all. Let me. There you go. Now I can see you. Sorry.
Yeah.
One second. I'm still rearranging all my stuff. There we go. Okay. So here is your, you were working with different lenses, right?
Yeah, this is you had said only 2, but I literally got this lens that morning.
Oh, okay.
Which one to play with it?
Which
it's a 16 millimeter. It's a wide lens. I haven't ever had one before, so
yeah, they're fun. They're fun. Yeah.
But not necessarily good. Well, I don't know. Maybe not the best choice for this, but so that was the 16 millimeter.
Yeah. And it's just a 16 millimeter. It's just fixed. Okay. Yeah. Right. And this one is at 5.6. The fun thing, by the way, with the real wide lenses is your depth of fields are fatter. And so where, you know, you're used to a 5.6 on your 50 millimeter being pretty narrow, but on the 16 millimeter, it's wider. So you get bigger depth of fields, but it's
Oh.
also got a nice blown out background back there. It's got a nice soft background to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was one. And I was trying to do this focus. This is the one where we were supposed to pick a portion and focus of the bloom, and I just picked the center, like the of the one that's in this picture on the farthest right.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you on outside on these petals right here?
No, I was trying to be right in the center.
Right there where my
Yeah.
cursor is?
Yeah.
Okay. Looks good. And then here's your 24 to 105,
Yeah.
5.6.
Yeah. That's the lens the camera came with.
And this is that 24 to 105 to me is one of the handiest lenses that I own. So
It really is.
it's a nice little lens. And then look at the blown out background. It's got a nice bokeh to it.
Mhm.
And then here's your 50.
Right.
Yeah. And once again, a really nice blown out background on it. Nice softness in that background. And this one is 5.6 as well. So I think you kept it pretty consistent all the way through. You did 5.6 on everybody. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good illustration of a difference in 5.6 on each one of those lenses. It focuses tight.
Yeah. They're all really good. Yeah.
Looks good. And then here's your rose with a different background. What's your background?
I wanted to do the one you had mentioned. It's not Bounty, it's a generic Target brand, but
Okay.
a paper towel, the plastic that covers it.
Oh, on the window?
Yeah, on a window. Yeah, on our and it's very interesting. It's on our the window that goes or the door that goes to our backyard. And you can see, like, we have a pergola there. You can kind of see where the light, changes from.
Oh, on the shadows. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of cool.
And then this one, now that I know what it is, I know what it is. Okay.
That's the same different part of the package, but
Yeah. It does make a nice background. Yeah.
It really does. Yeah.
And then the light shining through it, so it's good. What are you holding your rose up with?
I taped it with packing tape.
Okay. You got to use those clamps, Yeah.
Yeah.
One more tool.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Very good. And then here's your shooting through.
Yeah, this one was a challenge for me to try and find something to shoot through. We just don't have a lot of flower beds and things right now that are blooming. And so I have quite a few. It gave me a lot of practice because I tried quite a few different things, but I thought this was the best one.
Yeah, it looks good. And that's with your 25 to 24 to 105 also.
Yeah.
Has a nice blown out background. And then here's your 50.
Yeah.
At 1.8. Yeah. And you can see the difference in how much that 1.8 blows out that foreground compared to the one on the other lens.
Yeah, the 24 to 10, I forget what it was.
24 to 105.
That won't go much lower than a 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, you can get a lot lower with the 50, obviously. Yeah.
And it definitely gets a lot more blown out. Yeah. Very pretty. Nice illustration on that one. Okay, and this is Henry's coming up. Okay. And I'm sorry he's not here. I sure hope that wasn't him trying to call me. So that worries me because he's not here.
Mhm.
This is Henry's, and he's using his artificial backgrounds. Remember, he went to the art store and bought a whole bunch of different papers.
Mhm.
And this is his 45 millimeter. And look at this. This one is at f9.
Mhm.
And that f9 gets that entire hibiscus in focus from
Mhm.
front to back.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's got a really pretty, and then here's with begonia.
Mhm.
And again, he chose a really nice background for it. I think the background is got really, really, really nice on that one. This
Mhm.
is one
Mhm.
too where, Henry, I'll just talk to you. You could use your shadow slider to open up those shadows just a little bit. And then that opened up all this area that was in the center of that begonia. So that shadow slider will open that up. And this is his next one. And I think he's working on, really, really tight focus. That, how sharp will your camera focus? This is that 45 millimeter lens as well. And once again, it looks really nice. And my compliments to Henry on using the f9, because at that 45 millimeter lens at the f9 gives a really nice depth of field on that bloom. It's really pretty. And the background looks good too. And then here's his shoot through. I guess that gives us an idea too of how small those blooms were. So
Yeah.
he was doing some really small photography. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize those blooms were that small, but yeah, pretty tight on that one. This is the 80 millimeter and shooting through it. And then let me double check something up here. Yeah. So this is Henry again on his 45 millimeter. And look at the detail.
Mhm.
That's just looking really, really pretty. So that lens and that camera, he's using a Panasonic, really does get in there really, really tight, and it'll hold that focus. I'm assuming he's also on a tripod, so it'll hold that focus pretty well. And that's an f8, so that gives you an idea of how much depth of field he can get on that f8. Not much, but very pretty. And then here's his anthers again. And this is another one where, Henry, I'd encourage you to use your shadow slider. Look how much it opened up. So that was this. And that's just the shadow slider. Shadow slider only works on shadows. And so it's a handy, handy, handy little slider to use, because I think it looks a lot better when that detail is opened up. Yeah. And this is the 200 millimeter lens. And once again, it focuses really well. So it's got some nice sharp focus back in here. It's a pretty picture. Any questions for Henry, even though he's not here? No? Good job. Okay, Jen, tell us what you did.
Okay, so this is the smaller of my two lenses, and I'm trying to focus in on the yellow
Mm-hmm.
in the bloom and get those details. And I also kind of want a little bit of the details that are in the petals
Uh-huh.
from the wrinkles. And I did go to Lightroom afterward and just kind of brighten it up and bring it up a little, because the detail in the yellow, it almost looks like dragon scales to me,
Yeah.
but the dark spaces between each of the yellow, I don't know what the terms are for this part of the flower, but those were accentuated a little bit more when I went to Lightroom, and I felt that had a pretty good effect.
Yeah. Yeah. Your processing looks fine. Yeah. I don't have any problems with your processing. I love too, this is an F10 and the background isn't quite in focus. It's just the right amount of not in focus. So even though it's an f10, it gave you the ability to get all those details on those petals
Mhm.
when you're zoomed out to 70. Yeah. Yeah. Looks good.
Thank you.
It's very good. Yeah, I wouldn't do any more processing on that. It looks really nice.
And this is the same bunch of daisies. The one that's out of focus at the bottom, that's the one I was focused on in the previous picture.
Okay.
And then this one, I'm focused on the one that's kind of centered. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is with my bigger lens. So and I was sitting in the exact same place, probably about 3 or 4 feet away, not that far away.
Uh-huh.
And then that's how it came out.
Yeah. And that 70 to 200 is so nice to do flowers with.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful lens. Very, very nice lens. Yeah. And looks good. And you can see how it really throws the background out of focus.
Mhm.
And here's your delphiniums.
Yep, this one I was playing with background, but both of my backgrounds end up looking the same or kind of the same. This one is a butcher block and it's actually not gray. It's kind of a tan color, like wood, a lighter
Uh-huh.
wood. But this is how it came out looking in the photo. So,
Yeah.
and then the next one I used newspaper. So, I mean, there's actually stories and pictures and everything back there, but they're all blurred out. So,
Wow. Wow. And that's at 70 to or 24 to 70 at 2.8. So it's got an incredible blown out background at 2.8, but not much on that little flowers in focus. Just that you kept it flat to the film plane. So that one flower is definitely in focus.
that's where you're going to look, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks good. Now this is a good example too. You see this little orange flower down here?
Mhm.
That orange flower will always draw your eye to it
Right.
because it's just one more primary color. And so we
Mhm.
got to get sucked down there to look at it. And I didn't notice it at first, but now that I'm looking at the whole picture, I just keep
Yeah.
getting drawn down to that corner. So we got to watch those things. It's beautiful though. It's amazing that this one is more of a tan background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got that in my program to show you some white balance issues that we get. So that it's just a white balance, but it kept the flowers exactly like they should. So good job. I love this one. I think you did a great job.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I love my little gnome.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a good gnome.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then shooting through, we know it's a front yard. We know it's a flower bed. It fills in all of the gaps in our knowledge. But it just makes it a charming picture.
Thank you. And that's with the smaller lens of the two.
Yeah,
And,
you're 24 to 70. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. And once again, this is f8. So you see, you don't have much depth of field at f8. It's just enough for that gnome, not much.
Yeah.
Good
That's what I
job.
was going for, I think.
And then here's your 70 to 200.
Mhm. It's a bit darker.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is one too, where probably it could pull out just a little bit with that shadow slider as well. Yeah. Wonder what happens if we take the white balance tool that we were talking about last week. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Let me put it on his, whoops, 1 second. Not much. Ah, see over there, it turns it green.
Mhm.
Yeah, there we go. Now you got it. Good job. Very nice. Okay, anything on that one, Jen?
No, it was fun.
Yeah,
It was fun. Yeah.
yeah. It's fun to be out there with those two lenses. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Miss Lexi, tell us what you did.
This is some sort of like white fabric by using the background of that photograph. And then I don't know if you see the spider, but like, at the top of the plant there's a little spider.
Yeah. Yeah. There's your, it looks like is it a spider or an ant? Something.
It's a spider.
It's a little spider. Yeah. Right there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When he looks at the plant, afterwards, like after I'm pointing the plants, there's a little spider web from the
Yeah.
spider.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. So this was just white cloth.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then here's your
It's
same
just the
white
same.
cloth.
Yep, and just more zoomed out.
And then what'd you use here?
Like black velvet, I believe.
Okay. 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 Which makes a really nice background. Yeah.
And then I did a more zoomed out version of the
Mm-hmm. And this,
background.
once again, is one of those flowers where it's got multi dimensions. You know, it's a pretty fat
Yep.
flower, so you got to use a lot of depth of field on it.
Mhm.
But you know, as far as a like a dictionary, not dictionary, an encyclopedia photo for this flower, we can see its structure, and so you kept your camera nice and steady. You show us that it's got fuzz on it, so you can see the structure on the flower really well.
We have a red colored version of the same species. We didn't use it though because it's kind of, we aren't good at taking care of plants, so the red one isn't doing as well.
Yes, exactly. That's one of those
So-
salvias that the hummingbirds like so much.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
why we got it.
Yeah.
Is hummingbirds.
Yeah, very pretty. And then here's your lily.
Yep. And this one
Yay.
is focus stacked.
And this is focus stacked. Very good. Yeah.
I had to do the masking manually, though, which was a little bit annoying, but
Yeah. Yeah. No, you did a great job because each one of the anthers is in focus and we can see all the detail. My compliments
Yep.
to you. Did you use your tripod?
yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Because that tripod's allowing you to get really, really sharp photos now.
Yep.
So we saw all the hairs on that salvia. Now we can see all the pollen on the anthers of this lily.
It only required 2 photos to get the area in focus.
That's not bad. Not bad at all. Yeah. Yeah. Very pretty. You did a good job on that one. Very good job. And then Susan, here's yours. You really challenged yourself.
Yeah, I went out to Mercer just to see what they still had or
Mhm.
what they had in bloom this early. It looks like they really took it in the ear during the freeze because everything was just cut back. There was very few things in bloom, but these azaleas were. And I did some focus stacking on these, and what I did, I was hand holding the camera and I chose 4 different areas to focus on. And then, you know, obviously when I got back and did the stack, I realized that probably I needed 3 or 4 more areas to get the whole thing. But I just picked areas with my finger on the screen and clicked, you know, photos of each one and then stacked it. And I wasn't totally disappointed because it did take it all the way back to the crepe myrtle, and I did get all of the at least a picture of all of the azaleas, but not totally clear image.
Yeah. And missing this little part right up in here.
Right. And then the lower the pink ones lower the top of the lower left, the top of the right there is
right
in there.
Yeah.
A little bit further to the top, very top of that, right way up, and then in the back there.
Yeah.
Right there. Right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not in focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but it's the first time I'd ever done that type of thing, and it turned out better than I thought it would.
yeah. And that's not a bad technique because with the touch screen on the back, that means you can hold it with one hand and then just touch your focus points on the back and then use it as a focus stack.
Right.
Yeah. It looked like Mercer. When I saw it, it was like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, she went to
right.
Mercer.
I did.
Yeah.
And then I sort of combined focus stacking with, I ran out of time. I was going to do some more with backgrounds, but I just had to go with what I had. And I had a
Mhm.
dark background here. And this is a miniature rose. And I had my camera on a focusing rail
Oh,
and a close-up filter on the front of the
okay.
lens.
You really challenged
And
yourself. Yeah.
I did. This is 29 images, and you can
Wow.
see that I missed the very front of the stack, and then I didn't take it far enough back to get the leaves, but I got most of the flowers.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
29.
then
Yeah.
29, and then the next one is the same. It doesn't look like the same, but it's exactly the same plant, same place, same everything, just a different background. And I did the stack on the first one first, and I saw that I'd missed a bunch. So I did 83 images on this
Whoa.
one
Whoa.
and stacked them. And
Wow.
so, yeah, but
Wow.
it came out better.
And how long did it take the computer to process 83?
Not very long. I mean, I was amazed. I would say maybe 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
It
Okay.
wasn't bad. It
Yeah.
wasn't bad.
Yeah, that's incredible because it's got great
So,
detail. You can see
yeah.
I just noticed right in there.
Right,
Uh-huh.
exactly. And I looked
Mhm.
back at the original image, and there was something hanging out there in the front that I guess I just didn't get
Yeah.
focused on when I started, but
Yeah.
everything else came out pretty
That's
good.
pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah. 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 Any questions for Susan on her 83 slice focus stack? I told you that I have a friend who does cactus flowers and he'll do 120 slices.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. You know, just to get the entire bloom all the way through and all the detail in it. Did you use a focus rail?
I did. I had
Yeah,
the camera on the
okay.
focus rail. Now my A7R5 will do in the camera focus stacking, but I haven't done that yet, so that's my next challenge, and I'm going to
Yeah.
give that a try and see how that does.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
right now I'm using a focus rail.
Yeah, very good. Really pretty. Very, very nice.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And then here's your water drop.
Yeah. Now this, I looked out the window on, I guess, was it Saturday morning after that heavy rain that we had, and I saw that there were raindrops on my rose bush, and I ran outside with my camera and my tripod and started shooting.
Wow.
And
Very
so,
good. Very good.
Yeah.
You're a trooper. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's got a great raindrop
Thank
to
you.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, and it was reflecting the plant in the drop.
And it's got what looks like a little thorn in the drop
Yes,
as well. Yeah.
it's I think it's a reflection of that thorn that's right next to it.
Yeah. 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 Super. And then here's water drop on the rose leaf.
On the leaf. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. And that's your 9 by 220. So is that your small little camera?
That's my my RX10, my Sony. It's got a 24 to 600 millimeter 35 millimeter equivalent, but it'll
Yeah.
give you the actual millimeters there.
Yeah.
And then I had a close-up lens on the front of that.
Okay. Okay.
And
very good.
That's kind of my go-to camera for this kind of thing because it
Yeah.
has such a wide range of abilities.
It's beautiful.
And it's a lightweight little camera to carry around too.
Yeah. Yeah. And then here you go.
Back at Mercer, and this was it was an orchid tree that was in bloom. And so that was my my focus, one of my individual focus area things that I did.
Oh yeah. Okay.
See how it focuses on that one.
Yeah.
And everything else is kind of blurred out.
Yeah. It focuses pretty tight. Yeah. Because that's a pretty small little area, and that's what you were testing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this one too.
This one, I was focusing on the left-hand flower, and everything else, the one on the right is almost in focus, but not quite. And then of course the ones in the back are not.
Sure. 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 That's pretty. That's pretty.
Thank you.
Just coming out. And then here's your shooting through.
That's my shooting through. I was using, well, I had it on automatic ISO. So I didn't know what I was going to get for, my whether I was going to get the bird or not, because it was kind of dark inside that bush, but I did.
Yeah. It did well. It did well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's your shooting through.
Yeah, more shooting through. This was at Mercer also, another orchid. Those were about the only things that were in bloom there.
Yeah, not much.
That little,
And
no,
your
not much.
oxalis.
Oxalis in my backyard.
Yeah, I've got oxalis blooming right now too.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty. And the way you laid it out is pretty. I like the blurred blooms right in the bottom. That's
Right.
pretty. Yeah.
Pretty little flowers, yeah.
And
And more
here's your
shooting
shoot
through.
through.
Right.
Yeah. This is good too. And I like to photograph birds this way. I really enjoy photographing birds with the, shooting through the vegetation. I just think it's got a nice, interesting thing on them. Yeah, you did a good job.
Little bit of challenge to get them before they fly.
Exactly. Good house bench. Yeah. Good job. Good job. Any questions for Susan on her photos? Hey, Henry, I hear you. I see you here.
I am here. Hi.
Good. I'm going to go back to your photos real quick because I complimented you on your F9 because it got that entire hibiscus in bloom.
Yeah, and that was a focus stack.
That's a focus stack.
10 image.
10 images. Very good. It's nice and clear. I don't see any flaws, except maybe that the blue through the
Oh yeah.
is a different color.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Something in there. And your begonias, is this focusing on your tiny little area?
Yeah, that was the that's with the no, that was a different background than
your different background. And here's your other background.
Right.
Yeah. And the only thing that, Henry, that I did on this one is you submitted it like this.
Okay.
And I just opened up the shadows to open up the area right in here.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. But I like your background. I think your background choice was good on both of those.
Thank you.
And then here's your shoot through.
Yeah, I wasn't very successful on the shoot through at all. Wasn't happy with the results. I'll have to work on it some more.
Yeah, but it shows us how small those little begonias were.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely tiny. And then here's is this stacking or just as close as you can?
Where I was shooting with two different lenses at one part of the image. So that was a 45. That's the macro. And then the next one is at 200 millimeters.
Yeah. But you focused really, really tight on both of these. And here, Henry, I also opened up your shadows.
Okay.
You submitted it like that. And I just moved your slider like that.
Oh yeah, nice.
To open it up.
Nice.
Yeah. And what challenges did you find on this assignment, Henry?
Well, really the shooting through, and I was trying to shoot through, one of the real small begonias, and I just couldn't get there. Just didn't. Yeah, that was the one. That's the best. And the others it was not very good. The others were worse.
Yeah. That's where you got to cut that focus point all the way through. Yeah. Don't let it get stuck on anything.
Yeah. I'll have to work on that some more.
Yeah. Good job. Okay. So any comments or questions now that you've seen everybody's work? What do you think?
I think everybody's doing an amazing job. Those pictures look so good.
Yeah. That's what's fun about these classes. Yeah. But then you've also got that really, really cool in super detail daisy and then that wonderful little garden gnome. Yeah. So y'all did a good job. Very good job. Good. Other comments? For other folks' photos? I'm going to stay over here for just a moment because in the lesson today, I talk about color replacement. And so I thought that I would just stay here for just a moment and demonstrate the color replacement for you and the different ways that you can use for color replacement. And this one is image adjustments. And then if you go replace color right here, and you see how I've replaced Susan's orange with blue, but all you have to do, I've got to move you all out of the way again. There you go. All you have to do is touch a color, and then you notice that it set the color right there. So all I did was use the eyedropper and just touch the color. And then down here, touch the color again. And then you can go over here and let me see, we'll choose some greens. Yeah. And then whatever color I just touched, it just added those in green.
Could you run back through that again, please?
Sure. So I can go into Susan's photo and do image adjustments and do replace color. And then take your eyedropper right here. And I can touch, let's touch green this time. So I touch the green, and then you come down here. And if you want to see it in the image, you can, but I've just done this sort of black and white, and it shows me whatever is green.
Okay.
And now I can touch that color, and let's change it. Let's go pink this time. And so now anything that was green has been changed to pink. So replacement colors.
So you could do that for background.
You could do that with background. Exactly. And then here is, I did it on Lexi's, and then we're doing image adjustment and then replace color. And Lexi has a whole bunch of pinks in this picture. So I can go add pinks. So I can keep adding, and you notice that my picture is getting more black and white all the time. And wherever I'm clicking is just adding to it. And then when we come down here, we can change the color again. And there's an okay. So that's one way of changing the color. And there we go. And then here we can go, adjustments, and we can do replace color again. And this is where, let's go ahead and touch that yellow, your dragon skin, Jen, that you had. And I'm going to keep touching all of those yellows to gather up all the yellow color. And then here we can once again touch this, and let's go like that. There you go. So it worked a little bit easier here because the colors were a little bit more uniform.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So it's got some possibilities. And then don't save that one. And then here, Henry, here's your artificial background that you had. And over here under the brush tool is the color replacement brush. And if you
Okay.
click on your brush tool, one of your brushes is the color replacement tool.
Okay.
So when you come over here and you click the first time, that says we're looking at blue.
Okay.
And then up here, this is my brush size, typical. Mode is color. And then I went to the first eyedropper that had the little target in it right there.
Okay.
Contiguous. Tolerance is about 30%. And then the this one's 0. So just so you know those. Now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to choose us a new color. So I just went to my foreground color and chose my new color. And now when I paint, whoops. Now when I paint, there we go. You notice that it's not there. Now when I paint, come on, there we go. You notice that it won't do anything except paint where it's blue.
Oh, cool.
So even though I'm going over it, it won't paint anything that's not blue. So another way that you can replace color. And then you can sit and play with it and get it more precise and more precise and more precise. So
Yeah,
those are ways that you can replace color.
Because I really wanted to go to some more muted backgrounds.
Yeah.
That would be a good way to do it.
And then I didn't play with Amanda. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of how to play with a little bit of replacement color. So that's recorded and you can look at that tomorrow.
Good.
Amanda and Jennifer, you all have to do that in graphics art. So is there a better or easier way?
I've never done that with Photoshop.
Okay.
So
I
I'm
actually
learning.
do it that way. I probably would have, if I had wanted to change the background, I would have taken, just taken the background off and put some,
And
which
then
is
added,
Yes, that
Yeah.
I've done. I've
Yeah,
done
yeah.
that.
yeah, just mask out the background and add a new
Right.
one. Yeah.
right. That way, the way you just showed seems easier if you're
Yeah.
just doing straight color, or you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's, if you get real good at it, there's a way that, say, for a catalog where you wanted to have the jackets were red and yellow and orange and blue and turquoise, you could change all the jackets into different colors without having to reshoot the model wearing the jackets. Or change the color of the car, for instance. Yeah. So it's smart enough to know shadowing and things like that. But that was just a real quick little one for you. So lesson 4, what I've got for you all, the last little bit that I'm going to throw at you. You know how we were talking about the white balance where the butcher block didn't look, it came out looking exactly like the other one. That's all relation to white balance. So this is a Gerber daisy. It's placed on a mirror. And then if you look at my background back there, that's the reflector or the white diffuser reflecting in the mirror. But then if I touch the area that's white back here with my white balance tool in Lightroom or Photoshop, then that's what the picture looks like. So this is what came out of the camera, because that was a white diffuser reflecting light reflecting in the mirror. And then when I touched the photo with my white balance tool, then it white balanced to my eye. So that's what I got. That's what I saw with my eye. So if you didn't realize that, you know, you've got a flower on a mirror and you've got your white diffuser right over it. So it's reflecting white in the mirror. So why isn't the picture coming out white? Well, it's all because of white balance. And then just touched the background with your white balance tool when you get it into Lightroom or Photoshop, and now your background turns white. So that white balance really can have a big impact, just like we saw with that butcher block in the newspaper. You know, they both looked exactly the same. So don't get frustrated. Don't let it play tricks with your eyes. It's just a simple white balance. Make sense?
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
not sure how you get there in Lightroom. I'm sorry.
It's the, you know how I just used that little eyedropper?
Yep.
So there's a little eyedropper right on the basic tab next to the temperature.
Yes.
And you take that eyedropper and you touch something that should be white, and it changes the whole temperature of your entire photograph.
Okay.
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 Okay. Remind me and I'll show you when we're finished. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just so you get it. And then the depth of field preview button, anybody not shooting mirrorless? Jennifer, are you mirrorless?
I have no idea.
Which camera do you have?
The Nikon N5.
The N5. Yeah, the Z's are the mirrorless on Nikons.
Okay.
Exactly. And Lexi, you're shooting your Canon?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So Lexi doesn't have it. Henry, you're on mirrorless. Amanda, you're
Yes.
on mirrorless. Susan, you're on mirrorless. So on mirrorless cameras, because we are looking right through the viewfinder at the real picture, we don't have a depth of field preview button, even though they have still left the button right there. So on our R5s, there's still a button there. You can program it for other things, but it's still a depth of field preview button. But the depth of field preview button on your Nikon, Jennifer, and Lexi on your Canon, it's right down at the base of your lens. So it's not the notch that takes, or the button that takes the lens off. It's that other little button down there. And when you push it and put your hands around the viewfinder so that your eyes will adjust to the darkness, you can actually see the depth of field that you have. And this becomes really important when you're trying to see, if I focus here, how much depth of field do I actually have with this f-stop that I'm using? And so that's where that depth of field preview comes in real handy. Mirrorless, we can see it. So it just means if we focus, you know, on this little stem right here, then how much depth of field do we have going backwards on those water drops? So that's where that depth of field preview comes in real handy. Make sense, Susan? Yeah, so we can actually see how much depth of field we have. And then the water drops, did anybody try the glycerin? No. No, okay. So that, you know, we talked about that a little bit to give you, you know, more substantial water drops. But many times with water drops, when you're focusing on those water drops, if you want to see the reflection inside the water drop, you actually have to focus inside the water drop, not on the edge of the water. You have to focus all the way inside the water, because it's a three-dimensional object. And so your focus point sometimes on a water drop is all the way inside the water drop. And then how much depth of field do we need to get the outside of the water drop plus the other side of the water drop? 20 minutes later, we're finally ready to take our picture. Yeah. Hopefully the wind hasn't lost the water. But those water drops can come in handy for you, and those water drops can end up making the photo. This is just a bluebonnet leaf fresh bluebonnet leaf with a little bit of water on it. But you see how the bluebonnet leaf disperses its water, and it makes these beautiful little balls. But obviously it's a very small leaf, so very tiny. And then how each one of the subjects disperses its water. So a sweet gum leaf, for instance, all of the water drips off at that one point. The water drains down and drips off that one point. And then the glycerin. This is the water mixed with glycerin to make the balls on this tulip of water much bigger. So we talked a little bit about that last week. Okay, so motion blurring. Have you tried motion blurring?
Not on purpose.
Lots of accidents, happy accidents, right? So motion blurs are where we use a slower shutter speed and we move the camera intentionally. So it's called intentional camera movement. I call it motion blurs because in the old days we called it motion blurs. And we used to throw away pictures like this, but occasionally they were happy accidents. Now we work on it. So a motion blur can be focusing on the eye of the statue. And then when the shutter clicks, zoom the lens. That's what gives you the blowout here. So you can zoom in or you can zoom out, whichever way you would want. If you're going to try something like this, I really recommend on a statue that you focus on the eye so that the zoom comes out of the eye. If you focus on the nose, the zoom's going to come out of the nose. So if you focus on the eyes, then the zoom will come out of the eye. If you're on a tripod, then it's going to be a lot smoother zoom. If you're hand holding it, it's going to be a little bit more jerky zoom. So motion blurs focusing on one place in a statue. Motion blur here going up. So this is, I was hot summer day and I'm walking past these reeds with this beautiful blue sky, you know, in the blue in the sky. And the reeds were blowing around in the wind. So I just thought, well, this would make a great motion blur. It's got primary colors, yellow and blue, right next to each other. And so it's just a slower shutter speed. So in other words, if you're on aperture priority, take your f-stop down to 22, just a slower shutter speed, and then just fire like crazy. Click, 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 click. Just move the camera repeatedly. Take lots of them. Most of them you're going to throw away, but you might get one that's magic. So I think you shoot fast on these. So this is the exact same thing on some winter grasses. And it's just, once again, I usually shoot on aperture priority. So I just put my f-stop on 22, lower my ISO if I had my ISO up. And then it's just shoot and just move the camera with the movement of the grasses. So in this case, the grasses were all growing straight up. And so I just moved the camera. Notice the little bend kind of right there where my cursor is. That's because I'm moving the camera like this instead of up and down. So if I'm just kind of wiggling the camera up and down and giving it a bend, then I don't get a complete straight line. I get more of a bulging line. Just, there's no right or wrong answer to it. And then here's what happens if some of the picture was just a little bit blurred, but some of it was more. Then of those 12 that I took at the same time, then I take and put them into a layer, swipe out the bottom on the bottom layer, and then let a little bit of those grasses peek through. So just a really simple layer with a brush painting away the bottom layers. Same thing here. This is a series of trees going up and down. So this to me is a perfect example of when to do a motion blur. Once again, f22, low ISO, and then just move the camera up and down repeatedly over and over and over again. There's going to be one where you probably click the button while you didn't move the camera. And that's that solitary one down here. And then I just blended the solitary image with the blurred image to create that. So motion blurs. Questions on those? Here's another motion blur. So motion blurs, you can do these with the camera going out the window. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can do motion blurs anywhere, twirling around. So motion blurs. Then here's another motion blur. And then this one, I've masked out this portion of the tree over here just to give it a little bit more solid appearance. So fun. This is a series of bamboo that had this beautiful color to them. And so I just swiped the camera up and down, but I liked it better as a horizontal. You can do motion blurs as a spiral. So twisting the camera like this. And then once again, just clicking over and over and over again and seeing which one you get. Now, the focus point in this case was on the flower in the center of the frame. And then this is a twirl, just a long twirl, and then overlaid on a static image. So the poppies in the front are the hold the camera steady and click the image. And then the swirl in the back is when I moved the camera like that. So there's fun that you can have once we get some blooms. We need some blooms. It'll be here before we know it. And then your cameras do double exposures. So almost every one of you has a camera that'll do a double exposure. And it's just one of those settings again. And with the camera that I have, the R's, you can specify up to 10 different pictures. But this is only 2 pictures. And it's one picture focused on the leaves. And the second picture was just a completely blurred photograph. Same spot, just, I haven't moved. So one photograph is completely blurred, and then the other one is in focus. And then you can ask the camera, just like with focus stacks, blend it in the camera or save the pieces for me. So on a double exposure like this, I'll just go ahead and say, just go ahead and blend it in the camera. So you could do the, a face in nice sharp focus, and then you could do completely blurred and just overlay them on top of each other in the camera. Anybody ever tried this? No? Okay, you got lots of stuff to play with. And then some more post-processing ideas. This is blurs. So I took the photograph of the Rose of Sharon, and then I overlaid it with a Gaussian blur in Photoshop. So it's just one photograph where, excuse me, this isn't even an overlay. I just took this into Photoshop and went to filters, blur, gallery, Gaussian blur. So if you go to filter, blur, gallery, Gaussian blur, then you can just sit there and play with that slider until you get the right hazy appearance that you want. So no layers required here. Simple. And then this one is some processing, and then some Gaussian blur with a layer. And by the way, if you don't know layers, when I offer the textures class again, you might want to take the textures class. Susan, you did that one, right? Yeah.
I did. It was a great class. I loved that class.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a simple, easy way to learn layers. But this one is a Gaussian blur, and then with 2 layers. So one photograph's blurred, one photograph's crisp. And then I just used a brush, a masking brush, to paint out the top tulip. And then that made the top tulip in focus and the other tulips out of focus. So giving you the bokeh that you're looking for, but yet not necessarily using a lens that gives you that bokeh. So a 2-layer process in this one. And this is called an Orton, O-R-T-O-N. And you can do this 2 ways. The photograph, and then you can take a completely blurred photograph of the exact same thing. So this scene, and then completely blur it. Just move the lens and completely blur it. And then you can layer them later on in Photoshop. You can do your double exposure like I just talked about. So the garden in focus, and then the second photograph is the garden completely out of focus, and then let it blend in the camera. And that's what gives this dreamy appearance back in here. That's just a blurred photograph overlaid on top of a crisp photograph. But for garden photography, it works really, really well. So you can do it as an Orton technique, ORTON, and that's where you use one photo and you take it into Photoshop and you keep the original photo, make a copy of the original photo in a layer, blur the second layer, and then overlay them on top of each other. So you can do it any number of ways you want to do it. You can do it in camera with a crisp picture and a blurred picture as a double exposure, or you can do it later on in Photoshop with one picture blurred, one picture crisp, later on in Photoshop, one picture crisp, and then blur with a Gaussian blur, the second photo in a layer. It just depends on what your skills are and how you want to do it. And then you can also do textures. So I'm teaching the class in textures. So here's those tulips again. And then here's what happens if we overlay textures on them. So overlaying linen or making them into a watercolor or making them into an oil painting. That's what we do in textures. So overlays so that the photo ends up looking more like a watercolor or an oil painting. And I just kept the linen in the middle and then blurred the linen toward the edges just as a different type of effect. So it's fun with those textures because now we can take our flower photographs and make them look like oil paintings or watercolors. So here's another texture. This is an example of what we do in that class. And so it's just taking one photograph and then overlaying other solid photographs and then painting through and blending through. So you can make it look like that. You can make it look like that. Each time you do it is just a slightly different way of making it look. But it's a beautiful thing to do with flowers. And then replacing colors, I just showed you all how to do that over in Photoshop. So here's this nice little bluebird. And then if I change his color to magenta, that's what he looks like. So you can replace colors just by playing around with what I just showed you. And then here's that Rose of Sharon that I showed you before. And then replacing the colors of the center. So instead of it being magenta in the center, we move it more a teal color. So replacing colors. You don't want to do it all the time, but every once in a while, it's a nice thing to know how to do. And then twirls. Have you tried twirls? No? No? Lexi, have you tried twirls?
No.
No? Okay, I'm going to show you how to do twirls then, okay? So twirls are a lot of fun. I've given you the instructions on your handout so that you can do twirls. And I'll go in and I'll grab one of the photographs and I'll show you how to do twirls in just a second. So coming up for me, you all have done the masterclass now in flowers. Congratulations. And I'll offer another masterclass in textures coming up shortly. Macro photography, Susan and Alexi did that one. Night photography, that's a little bit more fun to do as we get into summertime. The creative retreat is in December in Rockport, Texas, and that's at the Rockport Art Center. And then I just added to my website a butterfly photography class in May, a dragonfly photography class in June, and a full moon photography class in September. And those will all be offered out on the Katy Prairie west of Houston in conjunction with the Katy Prairie Conservancy and Precision Camera. So they're just short little classes, but it gives us access to property that we normally wouldn't be able to go on. So I think that's going to be kind of fun. And then coming up, photo tours, Romania for birds coming up this May. Alaska Birds has one opening on it. Greece is full, but Costa Rica, we just posted for 2024. That's coming up for next year, if you ever want to travel with me. Okay, I'm going to go show you how to do stuff in Photoshop. Y'all ready? I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. Okay. Let me get rid of this. There we go. Okay. And then bring back up my share screen again. Okay. And then my, whoops. Okay. Got to move y'all out of the way just a little bit there. Okay. So here's how to do a twirl. So we're going to open an image. Let me see. Henry, let's use your flower, okay?
Okay.
There we go. So there's Henry's, okay? And we're going to duplicate that in a layer. Okay, so that's right over here. So I just duplicated that layer. And then up here at the top, I'm going to click filter up at the top, and I'm going to go to pixelate. And at pixelate, I'm going to go to pixelate. I'm going to go to Mesicant. There we go. And then here, I'm going to go long strokes. Okay. Tell it okay. Not very impressive yet. But then I'm going to go to filter at the top again. And then I'm going to go to blur. And I'm going to go to radial blur. Right there. I'm going to go to radial blur, and I'm going to go zoom on the radial blur. And I'm going to tell it, okay. And then I'm going to go back up to filter blur one more time. Whoops. And go to radial blur one more time. And I'm going to use zoom, but this time I'm going to go 100%. And now I got that one. You can do that one more time if you want to. And now I'm going to go to filter again, right here. And then I'm going to go to filter at the top. And then I'm going to go to, whoa, twirl. Where's twirl? Must be under other. Where's my twirl? Oh no, they moved my twirl. Anybody see twirl that I'm not seeing?
Mm-mm. Not yet.
There it is,
There it is.
distort. Right there. And that's what you got to watch out sometimes, is that things get moved. They're always there. And so now at twirl, there you go, Henry. That's your picture.
How about that?
And now we can go back up to the top if we want to, and we can do filter, and we can do distort again. Remember, it's under distort. And we can go twirl again, and we can go all the way back. And we can go again. So we can just keep doing that and doing that and doing that to see what we get. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So that's what twirls are. And then Henry, you wanted to know about the white balance tool?
Yes.
Okay, so I just opened your picture into Adobe Camera Raw. And right over here, got to move you around next to white balance right here. And that's the same thing as in Lightroom.
Right.
That's your basic. Take your white balance tool right there and now come over and tell it this is white, but that's not because that's blue.
Okay.
But you can tell it anything that should be white and it will adjust the white balance for you.
Okay.
So as you notice, each one of the different colors that I touch on changes the color completely of the photograph.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's your white balance tool. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's twirls. And on your handout, I've given you a Photoshop's Essentials so that you can go in and play around with twirls as well. And to give you some other ideas on how to play with twirls. I want to see your white daisy, Jen. Whoops.
Okay.
Whoops, when we twirl it. And then we're going to duplicate the layer. And then we've got to go to filter. And we've got to go, whoa, filter, and we've got to go to pixelate, mezzotint, long strokes. Yep. Good. And then we've got to go to filter up at the top and then blur. Oops. And then do radial blur. Woo. Uh-oh, it's exploding through space. And then we'll do one more of filter up at the top, blur, radial blur. I just have to play. Oh, no. There you go. So we would do it one more time. Filter, blur, radial blur. Good. Moved it off center that time. So probably should have gone back and done the other one. So if you don't like it, you just do undo, and now we can start back again. Make sense? In other words, play, have a good time, see what you come up with. Okay. So that's what I have for you in flower photography. Questions?
Yeah.
So now you've got some. Go ahead, Jennifer.
I didn't see my focus stacking pictures. Did I not get them in time?
Which were they?
Maybe the succulents.
Oh, where were those?
I don't know.
Excuse me for just a
I-
moment,
I
please.
did the delphiniums too, but it was terrible.
No,
didn't
but
like the
one second,
delphiniums.
one second, one second. Just hang tight for just a moment because I remember those. They were in Dropbox, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 1 second. Just give me a second. Y'all talk among yourselves. And by the way, you have each other's email addresses now. Oh, there. Well, focus. Yeah.
Yeah.
One focus stack succulent.
Yes. And
I saw that. Where did it go?
I don't know.
Okay. Oh. And your delphinium.
Mm.
I see. They were, let me go back to my bridge.
I figured that they were just so bad, you just like, let me
Nope.
just leave them out.
No, never, never would I ever do that to you. No. We are, we are all in this together, and there is never anything that is that bad. You know what it was is I see what it is real fast. There they are. When I do that opening, it doesn't open them automatically in that camera raw. So it'll open them real fast in Photoshop for you. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Because yes, I remember seeing those. Okay. So what'd you do, Jen?
I tried to take, well, I took probably 9 or 10 photos of this one, focusing on various points of the succulent. And I know I didn't get them all, even still, but the ones that were really, that really did not turn out, I took out. So it ended up being 6. And then I don't have focus stacking option on my camera. So I just took the photos, then went into, I followed your directions with Lightroom and Photoshop.
Yeah.
And this is what happened. But I didn't do that. I didn't do the blend. I did I forgot what they're called.
Auto align, auto
Yes,
blend.
I did that. I did auto align. And then that was the last thing I did, I think.
Okay.
And this is what happened.
Yeah, instead of auto blend. Yeah. And this also is a tricky focus stack because you're looking down at the subject, or really you're at an angle.
I am. Mm-hmm.
So it's one where you almost need to make sure that you focus up here on the top of the succulent and get, all the little pieces plus the little bathtub plus the book. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're coming at it from an angle.
Right. Okay.
So that makes a really hard focus stack instead of straight down or straight across. It's at that angle. Yeah.
Leave it to me to make it harder than I need to.
But it's a beautiful picture. You arranged it really well.
I tried.
Yeah. It's a really pretty little picture. Now you have to go back and try it again.
Yeah, I do.
And what's your background?
A piece of black leather that my husband had.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Very pretty. Very pretty, because it's a well-designed photo. So yeah, you need to try it again. And so it's up here in Photoshop, it's an edit, auto align, and then edit auto blend. And you have to, over here in the layer stack, keep all of them highlighted. Yeah,
I did do that part. I did all of that all the way up to auto align. And then that was where I stopped.
That was where you stopped.
Auto blend.
Yeah. It's pretty. It's pretty. That's what it is. So I bet you it needed that auto blend and it would have been there.
Possibly so. The delphinium was my first try, and it was probably, my goodness, about 25 photos trying to get every one of those blooms. And then I'm like, okay, I'm trying too hard. I think I've taken on more than I can handle because I'm a beginner at this technique. And so that's when I backed off and tried the succulent because I knew it would be fewer focus points.
Yeah. And here on this one, this is going to be like Susan was talking about with her rose, where it's going to be a lot of stacks.
Oh yeah.
It's got to be a lot of pieces. Yeah. But you still have all those pieces, right?
I
from when
do,
you-
yes.
Yeah, yeah. Now you're going to go auto align, auto blend. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just make sure over here in your layer stack that all of them are highlighted
Mm-hmm.
so
Okay,
that they'll all align and they'll all blend.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank-
Very good.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for reminding me and making sure that I showed your pictures. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. See, they're in there. They just didn't open up when I did the bridge. Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay, guys, that's it. That's all of our 4 weeks are gone already. So
Went
I
by
hope
really
this-
fast.
they went
Yeah,
by
sure
really
did.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. That was great.
It's good to spend the 4 weeks together and have the homework assignments, isn't it? You don't feel like you're
Yes.
all alone out there beating your head against a wall trying to learn something.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Well, I hope to see you in another class soon. I'll share this recording with you as well, just like I have with all the other ones. And as you're working on these, like Jennifer, when you go and you redo them, send them to me if you want to. I'd love to see what you got.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So anytime you have a success or anytime you do something that's outstanding, always feel free to share it with me. Okay, guys,
Thank you.
that's a
Thank
wrap.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. And remember, you have
Bye.
everybody's email address just in case you wanted to get in touch with each other. Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
See you
you.
later. Good
Bye.
travels. Bye-bye.
Bye.